3 boyfriends, 1 heart. Chapter 1. The Unraveling Heart. Maya stared at her reflection, not truly seeing the vibrant auburn hair or the thoughtful hazel eyes that usually garnered compliments. Instead, she saw a kaleidoscope of emotions: excitement, warmth, intellectual stimulation, and a gnawing, persistent guilt. Her heart, a supposed bastion of singular devotion, was currently a battlefield for 3 distinct affections, each claiming a significant, undeniable piece of her. Liam was the steady anchor, the one who brought a comforting predictability to her chaotic life. Their relationship was built on shared laughter over old sitcoms, quiet evenings curled up with books, and the unspoken understanding that flowed between them like a gentle river. He was safe, kind, and loved her with an unwavering devotion that sometimes felt like a warm blanket, sometimes like a heavy cloak of expectation. Their dates were simple: home-cooked meals, long walks in the park, or movie nights. He was the one who listened, who remembered the small details, who made her feel utterly seen and appreciated. His presence in her life was a testament to stability, a stark contrast to the shifting sands she found herself navigating. He talked about their future together, a future that, in moments of weakness, she envisioned with a quiet, contented sigh. He was the secure hand she could always reach for, the calming voice in the storm. Then there was Noah, the wild current that pulled her into exhilarating, unforeseen adventures. With Noah, every day was a blank canvas, every conversation an impromptu debate. He was spontaneity personified, whisking her away on last-minute road trips, convincing her to try exotic cuisines, and pushing her to step outside her comfort zone in ways she never imagined. Their connection was electric, fueled by a shared thirst for novelty and a playful irreverence for routine. He made her heart pound, not with anxiety, but with a vibrant, breathless excitement. He was the thrill, the laughter that bubbled up unbidden, the daring whispered promise of a life less ordinary. He lived for the moment, and with him, Maya felt an intoxicating freedom, a sense that anything was possible. He rarely spoke of the future, preferring to immerse himself fully in the intoxicating present, a trait that both captivated and terrified her. And finally, Ethan. Ethan was the deep ocean, mysterious and profound. Their bond was intellectual, a meeting of minds that transcended superficial pleasantries. He challenged her, provoked her thoughts, and introduced her to new philosophies and obscure poets. Their dates were often spent in hushed libraries, art galleries, or long, intense discussions over strong coffee in dimly lit cafes. He saw the depths of her mind, the curiosities she rarely shared with others. With Ethan, Maya felt a profound sense of intellectual kinship, a rare and precious connection that resonated with her very soul. He spoke of ideas, of concepts, of the universe, and in his company, Maya felt herself expanding, growing in ways she hadn't known were possible. He was the quiet intensity, the thoughtful gaze that saw beyond her facade, the companion who understood the complex machinery of her inner world. His future plans were always grand, abstract, and inspiring, focusing on societal impact rather than personal comfort. Each man offered something unique, something essential, something that completed a facet of her own complex personality. Liam offered solace and security, Noah offered exhilaration and freedom, and Ethan offered intellectual depth and growth. How could one heart be so fragmented, so equally drawn to such disparate forces? The problem, of course, was the secrecy. No one knew about the others. Maya had become a master of scheduling, a virtuoso of plausible excuses. A girls' night out for Liam became a cozy dinner with Noah. A late work meeting for Ethan turned into an adventurous hike with Noah or a quiet evening with Liam. Her phone was a carefully guarded fortress, her calendar a labyrinth of coded appointments. The constant vigilance was exhausting, a silent scream of stress beneath her calm exterior. Every ping, every unexpected call, every casual question about her day sent a jolt of fear through her. She had told herself it was temporary, a phase she would navigate through, a period of self-discovery. But weeks bled into months, and the intricate web of deceit grew stronger, tighter, more suffocating. She loved them, in their own unique ways, and the thought of hurting any of them twisted a knife in her gut. Yet, the thought of letting go of any of them felt like tearing a part of herself away. Tonight, Liam was coming over for dinner. Tomorrow, Noah had planned a surprise adventure. And the day after, Ethan wanted to discuss her insights on a newly published philosophical essay. 3 lives, 3 loves, 1 heart, undeniably torn. The reflection in the mirror seemed to mock her, a fractured image of a woman trapped in her own making, teetering on the precipice of a collapse she knew was inevitable. The dilemma had begun, and Maya knew, deep down, that it couldn't last forever. The unraveling was just a matter of time. Chapter 2: A trio of Tuesdays, Thursdays, and weekends. Maya's life had become a meticulously choreographed dance, each step designed to avoid collision. She had designated days for each man, an unspoken, unwritten rule in her own mind. Tuesdays were for Liam, Thursdays for Ethan, and weekends, a fluid concept, were often split between Noah and whoever else could squeeze into her increasingly congested emotional schedule. This particular Tuesday, the scent of Liam's favorite lasagna filled her small apartment. He arrived promptly at 7, a bouquet of her favorite sunflowers in hand. "Rough day at work, love?" he asked, his voice a soothing balm, immediately noticing the subtle tension in her shoulders. Liam always noticed. He had a knack for sensing her moods, for offering comfort without being asked. They ate, talking about their days, the mundane details that, with him, felt grounding and real. He recounted a funny anecdote about a clumsy coworker, making her laugh genuinely, the kind of easy, unrestrained laughter she often forgot she was capable of. Later, they curled up on the sofa, a worn blanket over them, watching an old black and white movie. His arm was warm around her, his fingers gently tracing patterns on her arm. "You know," he murmured, his breath warm against her hair, "I can really see us, like, building a life together. A real one." The words hung in the air, sweet and heavy, a vision of domestic bliss that, for a fleeting moment, felt overwhelmingly appealing. She squeezed his hand, a silent acknowledgement, a subtle evasion. The guilt, a familiar phantom, stirred within her. She enjoyed this quiet comfort, this promise of a stable future, but a part of her felt a stir of unease. Was this all there was? Was this enough? Thursday arrived, bringing with it the intellectual stimulation of Ethan. He had called earlier, excited about a new exhibition at the city's contemporary art gallery. "It's a deconstruction of modern societal norms through abstract expressionism," he'd explained, his voice alight with passion. Maya met him at the gallery, feeling a shift in her posture, a different kind of energy sparking within her. With Ethan, she wasn't just Maya, she was a fellow explorer of ideas, a co-conspirator in the pursuit of knowledge. They spent hours dissecting each piece, debating the artist's intent, the philosophical underpinnings, and the socio-political implications. Ethan's mind was a labyrinth she loved to get lost in, his insights sharp and often surprising. Over coffee afterwards, they delved into a deep conversation about free will versus determinism, a topic that left her mind buzzing, alive with new perspectives. "Your insights are always so refreshing, Maya," he said, his intense gaze fixed on her, a rare smile gracing his lips. "You challenge me in ways no one else does." His words resonated deeply, tapping into a part of her that craved intellectual communion. She felt stimulated, seen in a way that was unique to their connection, but also, subtly, isolated. His world was often abstract, removed from the everyday emotions she grappled with. The weekend was Noah's domain. He'd planned a surprise, a rock climbing session at an indoor gym, followed by a street food festival. Maya met him, a surge of adrenaline already coursing through her veins. Noah, with his infectious grin and boundless energy, was a force of nature. He encouraged her up the climbing wall, cheering her on, making her laugh even as her muscles screamed in protest. He wasn't interested in deep conversations or future plans. He was purely about the experience, the thrill of the moment. After the climb, they navigated the crowded street food stalls, sharing bites, their fingers brushing, a playful intimacy that was both exhilarating and liberating. He grabbed her hand, pulling her into an impromptu dance when a lively band started playing. "This is living, isn't it, May?" he yelled over the music, his eyes sparkling with unadulterated joy. "No plans, no worries, just us and whatever comes next." His carefree attitude was intoxicating, a powerful antidote to the weight of her secrets. With Noah, she could shed her inhibitions, be reckless and spontaneous, a side of her that rarely surfaced with Liam or Ethan. Yet, as the night wound down, and he dropped her off, she felt a familiar pang. The thrill was undeniable, but did it have substance? Was there a foundation beneath the fireworks? Each date, each interaction, reinforced the unique bond she shared with each man. Liam offered stability, a future she could touch. Ethan offered intellectual growth, a future of ideas. Noah offered exhilarating spontaneity, a future of endless possibilities. And Maya, caught between these three compelling realities, found herself increasingly stretched thin. Her carefully constructed schedule began to fray at the edges. A text from Liam asking if she was free Thursday evening, just as she was planning to meet Ethan. A casual mention from Noah about a Saturday event that clashed with a prior commitment to Liam. The lines were blurring, the carefully drawn boundaries starting to bleed. The near misses were becoming more frequent, the excuses more elaborate. The web was growing, tightening around her, and Maya could feel the delicate threads threatening to snap. Her heart, once a battleground, was now a fragile, overloaded circuit board, sparking dangerously. Chapter 3: The Tangled Threads. The delicate balance of Maya's triple life began to show serious cracks. The carefully constructed walls between her three worlds, once solid and impenetrable, were now riddled with hairline fractures. It started with small, innocuous details. Liam, after a particularly thoughtful conversation, mentioned a new exhibit at the City Gallery. "You know, the one Ethan told me about last week," Maya almost blurted out, catching herself just in time. She feigned ignorance, managing a vague, "Oh, really? I hadn't heard." A bead of sweat trickled down her back. Then came the scheduling nightmares. Noah, ever the impulsive one, decided on a whim that they had to go to a new outdoor concert series on a Friday night. A Friday night she had already committed to Liam for a quiet dinner and a board game marathon. Panic seized her. "Oh, Noah, that sounds incredible," she began, her mind racing. "But I promised my sister I'd help her with something urgent that night. Family emergency, you know." She hated the lie, the way it felt like a betrayal not just to Noah, but to herself. He looked disappointed but accepting. "Another time, then, May," he said, his usual sparkle dimmed. The flicker of disappointment in his eyes was a sharp stab of guilt. The close calls became terrifyingly frequent. One afternoon, while walking with Ethan near his university, she spotted Liam's familiar car parked a few blocks away. Her heart leaped into her throat. Liam worked nearby, but his shifts varied. What if he was just finishing up? What if he saw her? She subtly steered Ethan down a different street, feigning an interest in a small boutique. Ethan, oblivious, launched into a detailed explanation of the architectural styles of the surrounding buildings. She nodded, smiled, but her eyes darted nervously, her mind screaming. The stress began to manifest physically. She found herself constantly tired, her appetite erratic. Sleep became a luxury, her nights filled with restless tossing and turning, replaying conversations, planning her next alibi, and wrestling with the moral quagmire she had created. Her once vibrant energy was slowly being siphoned away by the constant vigilance and the crushing weight of her secrets. She felt like a puppet master, desperately trying to keep three separate shows running simultaneously, each string threatening to snap or entangle with another. One evening, after a particularly intense debate with Ethan about the ethics of artificial intelligence, her phone buzzed. It was a text from Liam. "Thinking of you. Can't wait for our quiet night tomorrow." Smiling face. Just as she was about to reply, another text popped up, this one from Noah. "Spontaneous road trip this weekend? Need an escape." Her thumb hovered over the keyboard, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting desires and impossible logistics. She felt a wave of nausea. The emotional toll was immense. She found herself unable to fully connect with any of them. With Liam, a part of her held back, fearing that any deeper intimacy would expose her deception. With Ethan, her mind was engaged, but her heart felt guarded, unable to fully surrender to the intellectual bond. And with Noah, the thrill was often overshadowed by the looming fear of discovery, making her moments of joy fleeting and tinged with anxiety. She was present, yet perpetually absent, a ghost in her own relationships. A casual comment from a mutual acquaintance, a friend who knew both Liam and Maya, brought her closest to disaster. "I saw Liam at the park last Saturday, Maya. He said he was hoping to catch you there, but you never showed up." Maya's mind raced. Last Saturday, she had been with Noah, exploring a new hiking trail miles away. "Oh, right," she exclaimed, trying to sound natural. "I had a sudden, unexpected family thing come up. Had to cancel last minute. He must have missed my text." The friend looked mildly skeptical but let it go. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. The lies were becoming second nature, but each one chipped away at her integrity, leaving her feeling hollow and increasingly alone. The guilt was a heavy blanket, suffocating her. She cared for all three men, genuinely. She didn't want to hurt them. But she also couldn't bring herself to choose. Each offered a piece of the puzzle that was her ideal partner, and the thought of sacrificing any one piece felt like sacrificing a part of herself. She had created this elaborate illusion, but now it was controlling her, trapping her. The threads were no longer just tangled. They were knotting, tightening, threatening to strangle her. Maya knew, with a chilling certainty, that something had to give. The unraveling was no longer a matter of time, it was imminent. Chapter 4, The Shattered Mirror. The inevitable collision arrived, not with a bang, but with the quiet click of a phone screen and the devastating clarity of undeniable truth. Maya had just returned from an exhilarating, albeit stressful, kayaking trip with Noah. She was tired, but the adrenaline still hummed in her veins, making her careless. As she kicked off her muddy shoes, her phone, which she'd meticulously kept face down, buzzed on the coffee table. It was a message from Liam. Without thinking, she picked it up, her thumb sliding over the screen. And then she saw it. Not Liam's message, but a notification that had popped up just moments before, a photo from Ethan, captioned, "Such a thought-provoking evening, Maya. Can't wait for our next literary deep dive." Below it, a string of heart emojis. The picture showed Ethan and Maya, heads close together, immersed in a book at their favorite quiet cafe. It was a photo Ethan had sent last Thursday, a moment of shared intellectual bliss. Liam, who had arrived moments earlier to drop off a forgotten jacket, paused in the doorway. His gaze, usually so gentle, was now fixed, unblinking, on her phone. The smile that had been forming on his face slowly dissolved, replaced by a look of dawning comprehension, then stark disbelief, and finally, a chilling blankness. "Maya," he said, his voice flat, devoid of its usual warmth. "What is this?" The blood drained from Maya's face. The air in the room seemed to thicken, heavy with unspoken accusations. She fumbled with the phone, trying to switch off the screen, but it was too late. The image was burned into Liam's retina, and the implication was clear. "Liam, it's not what you think," she stammered, the words catching in her throat, even to her own ears, sounding hollow and desperate. He took a step closer, his eyes still locked on the phone in her hand. "Not what I think. Is that Ethan?" His voice was low, dangerous, a tone she had never heard from him. "And literary deep dive. What about our quiet night last Thursday?" Her carefully constructed facade crumbled. She couldn't lie anymore, not to him, not when the evidence was staring him in the face. "Liam, please, let me explain," she pleaded, extending a hand towards him. He recoiled as if burned. "Explain what, Maya? Explain why you're having thought-provoking evenings with other men while telling me you're busy or tired." His voice rose, tinged with a raw hurt that tore at her. "How many others, Maya? Just Ethan? Or are there more deep dives I don't know about?" The dam broke. The secret she had guarded so fiercely, the elaborate deception she had woven, was out. Tears welled in her eyes, blurring Liam's pained face. There's Noah too," she whispered, the admission a heavy stone plummeting to the pit of her stomach. The look on Liam's face twisted into something akin to horror. "Noah," he repeated, the name a foreign, bitter taste on his tongue. "You mean Noah, the guy from your book club? The one you said was just a friend?" His voice cracked. "You've been lying to me this whole time. To us." He took a step back, shaking his head slowly, a profound sadness etched into every line of his face. I thought we had something real, Maya. Something honest. All this time, I was planning a future with you, and you were living a double life." He gestured wildly around the apartment, the comfortable space suddenly feeling suffocating. Every movie night, every shared meal, every promise. Was it all just a charade? Maya tried to reach for him again, but he flinched away. "Liam, I swear, it wasn't like that. I didn't mean to hurt you. I got lost." His eyes, once full of affection, now held only a deep, wounded betrayal. "Lost? Or just greedy, Maya?" The word hung in the air, a cruel, accurate accusation. He turned, the forgotten jacket still in his hand, and walked towards the door. I can't even look at you right now." The door clicked shut, a final, definitive sound that echoed the shattering of her carefully built world. Liam was gone. The first pillar of her deceitful structure had collapsed, leaving her exposed and trembling. The tears flowed freely now, hot and shameful. She had known this moment would come, but the reality of it was far more devastating than any nightmare. The mirror of her life had shattered, and the reflection she saw was one of profound regret and painful consequences. But the unraveling was far from over. There were 2 more hearts waiting to be broken, 2 more truths waiting to be confronted. The reckoning had begun. Chapter 5. The Reckoning and Redefinition. The silence in Maya's apartment after Liam left was deafening, punctuated only by her ragged breaths and the frantic thumping of her own broken heart. The shattered mirror of her deception lay in pieces around her, reflecting the distorted image of a woman she no longer recognized. Liam's departure was a brutal, necessary first step, but the full reckoning was yet to come. She knew she couldn't evade the truth any longer. The web was not just tangled, it was utterly shredded. The first call she made was to Ethan. Her voice trembled as she asked him to meet her. He arrived, his usual composed demeanor giving way to a flicker of concern when he saw her tear-stained face. She laid it all bare, the words tumbling out in a painful torrent. Liam, Noah, the elaborate lies, her own confused heart. Ethan listened, his gaze intense, unblinking. When she finished, the silence stretched, heavy with his unspoken judgment. "Maya," he finally said, his voice measured, devoid of anger but imbued with a deep disappointment. "I'm not angry, per se. More, bewildered. You spoke so often of authenticity, of truth, of intellectual integrity. How could you reconcile that with such a profound deception?" His words cut deeper than any outburst of rage. He wasn't hurt by the betrayal of love, but by the betrayal of principles they had both held dear. Our connection was built on trust, on the belief that we saw each other clearly. This changes everything. He stood, his movements slow and deliberate. "I need time, Maya. Time to understand, if I can understand." He left without another word, the quiet closing of the door a stark contrast to Liam's furious exit, but no less final. Noah was the hardest. He had always been so open, so trusting, so full of unbridled joy. She called him, her voice barely a whisper, and asked him to meet her at their favorite park bench. He arrived, his characteristic bounce replaced by a worried frown. As she confessed, his bright eyes dimmed, the vivacity slowly draining from his face. His reaction wasn't anger, but a profound, almost childlike hurt. "You mean, all those spontaneous adventures," he said, his voice small, "all those times I thought we were just living in the moment, you were also, with someone else?" He ran a hand through his hair, a bewildered expression on his face. "I told you everything, Maya. Every dream, every fear. I trusted you with my whole crazy heart." He looked at her, truly looked at her, and she saw the realization dawn in his eyes. The thrill, the excitement, had been built on a foundation of sand. "It wasn't real, was it?" he asked, a tear finally escaping and tracking a path down his cheek. "Any of it?" "It was real, Noah," she pleaded, desperate to salvage something. "My feelings for you were real." He shook his head, a sad, hollow laugh escaping him. "How can it be real if you were lying every step of the way? If you were always holding back a part of yourself?" He stood up, his shoulders slumped. "I can't do this, Maya. I can't be a part of, whatever this is." He walked away, not running, not yelling, but simply walking, leaving her alone on the bench, the silence of the park amplifying her despair. 3 calls, 3 goodbyes. Her heart, once divided, now felt empty, hollowed out by the painful echoes of her deceit. The immediate aftermath was a blur of tears, regret, and profound loneliness. She had feared losing them, but in trying to keep them all, she had lost herself. In the days that followed, Maya began the arduous process of picking up the pieces. She cleaned her apartment, physically and metaphorically. She deleted the carefully crafted schedules from her phone, the constant reminders of her duplicity. She stopped checking for messages from them, knowing they wouldn't come, or that if they did, they would only be expressions of unresolved pain. The initial emptiness gradually gave way to a strange sense of clarity. For the first time in months, She wasn't living for anyone else's schedule or expectations. She wasn't crafting lies, wasn't juggling emotions, wasn't constantly on guard. The silence, once deafening, began to feel like a space to breathe, to simply be. She started journaling, pouring out the chaotic swirl of her emotions onto paper. She reflected on what each man had brought into her life, and more importantly, what she had been seeking in each of them. Liam had offered security, something she realized she needed but had tried to find externally instead of cultivating within herself. Ethan had offered intellectual growth, a facet of her identity she had neglected. Noah had offered adventure, a spontaneity she craved but had suppressed. She had been using them, in a way, to complete herself, instead of recognizing that all these qualities already existed within her, waiting to be nurtured. The journey of healing was long and arduous. There were moments of profound sadness, of yearning for the comfort of Liam, the intellectual spark of Ethan, or the exhilarating spontaneity of Noah. But through it all, there was also a growing understanding of herself. She realized that her inability to choose wasn't about loving them all equally, but about a fear of missing out, a deep-seated insecurity that told her she wasn't whole on her own. Months passed. Maya went on a solo trip, rediscovered old hobbies, and dedicated herself to her career. She learned to embrace her own company, to find solace in solitude, and to discover the depths of her own mind without the constant validation of another. She wasn't looking for another relationship. She was looking for herself. One day, she stumbled upon an old, forgotten photo of herself, taken before the entanglement. Her eyes held a sparkle, a genuine joy that had been dimmed by her secrets. She looked at her reflection now, and for the first time in a long time, she saw clarity, not chaos. Her heart was no longer fragmented. It was whole, and for the first time, truly her own. The journey to mend her heart had begun with breaking it, and in the process, she had found something far more precious than any fleeting affection: self-acceptance and the profound strength of being truly, honestly, and wholly herself. The story of 3 boyfriends had ended, but the story of Maya, and her one true heart, had finally just begun.